Picks and parlays back with NFL Bettors Edge Week 11. I cannot believe we are, 2 weeks from, 2 weeks from Thanksgiving. And, after that, football season's, it goes like that. So, but we've got this week we're just doing 3 free betting picks in Week 11 Sunday action. We're going to do 1 at 1 o'clock time slot Eastern Standard Time, 1 at 4, and the Sunday Night Football game. So let's kick it off. Before I do so, though, don't forget, like and subscribe. Of course, you can get Sean and I's picks, everyday picks and parlays. Go over there, use that promo code EDGE to save 20% off on everything. That's where you find our best stuff. So if you want the best stuff, we like all this free stuff, but our best stuff is always over there. We rate them. We tell you how to play the games, and we give you a write-up on each and every play we give out. Okay. Early game here. Titans. I actually thought this line would be, I'm always like trying to predict the lines and see where there's going to be value. I actually thought this line should be 7.5 because I thought there's going to be a ton of public money if you made Minnesota touchdown. But we see the line staying pretty steady now. We're filming this on Friday. Vikings -6, total 39.5, Higgs. Vikings, they jumped out to that, was it 5-0 start? Since then, kind of a little, just like any team, injuries and other things that affect them. It almost seems too easy, though, with the Vikings here. What do you think?
Right. Whenever you see like the 2.5, 6.5, it's like, wow, they just got to win me a touchdown or a field goal should be easy. You mentioned their fast start. They lost to Detroit. No shame there. Short week. The Rams game, remember, it's like the sky's falling. I mean, you said 7.5. I thought this would be like a 4. I actually like the Titans in this one. Darnold, he is who he is. Great start. He's got 5 interceptions the last 2 weeks. He's got 8 in his last 6 games. If you're gonna be like that against Tennessee, as bad as Tennessee is, it's still one of the better defenses. They give up like 150, 106 yards passing a game. They're going to keep them in it. The problem is the offense is a turnover machine. I think they have like the most turnovers in football. I mean, Will Levis is an auto play. Forget about the interception prop. It's him throwing a pick 6 is probably even minus money as a favorite. And again, if he could play a decent game and not make those bonehead mistakes, they could win this game. I mean, Vikings could turn guys over. They lead the league in takeaways, but I'm going to go with the 6 here. It's one of those, you're going to get defense out of Tennessee, and can the quarterback, whoever it is, looks like it's Levi Jean's guy, the Mayo guy, if he could just maybe how about 2 turnovers? How about an interception and a fumble instead of 5 a game or something? If we could keep it at a minimum, I don't want to say upset, but give me the points, Tennessee.
Yeah, 69% of people, the public is on Minnesota, 56% on the over. I like the under here. I just don't see either team getting over 20 points. Minnesota, they like to play kind of closer to the vest. I think they know what they have. They know that this isn't like a quarterback they want to drop back and throw 40 times a game. They would much rather let's run, let's play to our defense. Our defense has been very solid this year. And I think this Titans team, they definitely want to have less possessions. Anytime you have Will Levis or Rudolph as your quarterbacks, you'd like to play less possessions. I like the under 39.5. I think this is like 5 possessions each half. So maybe 10 possessions for the game. I don't see these teams scoring on half the possessions. Somehow
they scored 31 in Miami, right? However that was. They've only scored more than 17 points once. They beat New England 20-17. They needed overtime to get there.
Yep.
They haven't scored more than 18 points. The Miami game's a true fluke. This team, like you said, you like the under? They're going to score 17 points, tops. There you go.
And to be honest, the Titans, I'm not saying, tank, but you would like to get as high of draft pick as possible, because I think you probably know that Will Levis isn't the future there. And if you have a chance to get one of the top quarterbacks, probably they're going to move on from Will Levis. I'm just saying, lose some games. And Minnesota, they got to win because, Detroit is going to win that division. So they're going to be the wild card. They definitely want to be one of the top wild cards. They don't want to have to face, to go face the second best team in the NFC. So let's move on to the afternoon game. And I think the game of the week, I don't know how this isn't the primetime game. KC at Buffalo. These teams play every year, it seems like twice a year if you look at the history. And the Bills have been pretty good in the regular season. Of course, the Chiefs own the postseason. KC, I mean, they just find ways to win. Well, block field goals so that you win. Last week against Denver. The week before, they go to overtime. And last week, they were on a short week. I mean, and they beat Tampa Bay in overtime. I just think this is the week they go down here. I like the Bills minus the points here. I just think it means a lot more to the Bills. I'm going to just be honest. Bills, look at their record. They're probably thinking, hey, if we win out, KC probably stumbled. We beat them in KC and we ended up tied. We could end up hosting, which obviously a much easier spot to be hosting in the playoffs. So what do you think, Higgs? Are you on the Chiefs finding ways to win here again?
Well, let's start with, this is a great game. I don't know how we got the Titans in here when we had Ravens and Steelers we could have threw in there at the 1 o'clock window. I mean, a lot of good games this week, a lot of good matchups. The Bills, they hosted them last year in the playoffs. I know because I had them. Loser. The Chiefs, 3-0 in the playoffs versus the Bills, but the Bills 3-1 regular season. I like the under here because regular season, they have gone under in the regular season when they go head-to-head to the tune of like 42, 44 points a game as opposed to like the 50s you see in the postseason. I like the under. I do like the Chiefs. How do we go against the Chiefs? They've played like trash, and they still – we have a choke game.
Mahomes has been terrible.
Yeah. And they could be undefeated. They might go undefeated. Who knows? I don't think they're going undefeated because you mentioned hiccups. They do have the Steelers on Christmas Day in Pittsburgh, which could, be a tough one. Toe game, the Cincinnati game, pass interference call, the Detroit game, or the Atlanta game where they tackled the guy in the end zone, didn't get a flag. Where else?
Tampa Bay. Field goal. Tampa Bay could have went for 2 and did it.
Tampa Bay
not go to overtime
at the end of the game there. Blocked field. I mean, talk about 9-0 with 9 lives. I think they used up their 9 lives already. That being said, I can't. I've tried this fading Kansas City last year against the Bills, against the Ravens, and against the Niners. All the time getting points. Doesn't work out for me. You know what? I'll play it safe. I'm going to go under. Chiefs are a defensive team. They've been the last couple of years defensively, so I'm going to take the under 46. I can't do. I've suffered enough trying to fade the Chiefs. It's not a moneymaker. Not a moneymaker at all.
Is Mahomes like? Can you just say, "Hey, be a game manager"? I mean, because let's be honest, a lot of these games are closer because he has played bad. The defense of special teams has been outstanding, and if he plays just his average game, they'd be murdering teams. They're only close because he has not been playing his best football as far as the whole season is concerned. He's had a couple games.
How many interceptions? He got 9 interceptions?
He's going to end up with, probably 12 to 14 interceptions at this rate if you kind of look at his history. Breaks. But I will say they do have a bunch of guys down and they've kind of found ways to win. They're not the receiving core. You got Hopkins now. I think they're going to continue to get better, but I still think this just means more. At this point of the season, I like to play games that does it mean more? Chiefs know they're going to win their division. They're going to be one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the AFC. The Bills, they know, hey, we even lost at home last year. If we go on the road, we're not beating Kansas City on the road. This isn't happening. Yeah. They got to be 3 already. Yeah, got to. So I'm going to take the Bills.
Also, one last thing there with Mahomes, as bad as he's been, like you got a peer, like MVP's kind of going. You'd think this would be the game where, if he's been Kansas City Chief in it, right, we're going to win, not cover kind of games. This would be the game where it's going to be like, here comes MVP Mahomes out here, Super Bowl champ. This would be where it'd be, versus peer MVP.
I actually think Josh Allen needs do not go back to your past Josh Allen years where you try to put the team on your back. He's done a better job at this year where he's ran it when he needed to. He has not forced the ball. I guess, you don't have Diggs like saying, you got to throw it my way. He spreads the ball around. If he continues to do that, Buffalo's going to continue to win because turnovers really has been Josh Allen's issue. In playoff
whether
games.
It's fumble or interceptions.
Yeah. So if he can avoid that, I like the Bills here. All right. My Bengals are the Sunday night football game. I hate that because, when it's your team, you're just like, I just don't want this team. But if last week was a must-win, you still found a way to lose, even though, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are playing. If you just said, hey, they're both going to be up for the MVP, and you look at their records, like, how is it possible? And Trey Hendrickson, he's leading the league in sacks. Those 3 players are playing out of their mind, and the Bengals are still losing. Chargers favor -1.5, total 48. Higgs, tell me my Bengals have a chance here. T. Higgins is going to play, it sounds like, by the way, too.
The offense is fine with you. Have 9 touchdowns and interception versus the Ravens. He's 0-2 versus them. He's got 24 touchdowns. Mahomes is 12-9. This kid's 24-4 with his TD to interception, and they look terrible. How this line? The Bengals were 1.5 point favorites before their game against the Ravens. It's flipped here to 1.5. People are still pounding Cincy. It's got in the defense because as the Charger team, who's not, it's a hardball team. It's running.
Yeah.
It's keep away. We're going to play defense. The under for me, as bad as the Bengals defense is, I don't think the Chargers have an offense. I really don't. I think they just kind of grind away. And who have they beaten? They beat any elite teams? Run through it. They haven't. No, there's not a really good signature win. At Denver against a rookie quarterback, that's their big win because Denver's kind of good. I'm not buying that. I can't take the Bengals because the defense is so bad. I'm going to go under, though. As bad as the Bengals defense is, I don't think the Chargers are going to get to like a 30 spot. And the Chargers are good enough to keep the Bengals in check. So I'm going to go under the 48.
Kind of a mini bye for the Bengals. They did play on Thursday. Now they have the extended bye. Obviously, they're having to travel out west. But I think Joe Burrow and company's got something. I do think the Bengals win this game. I'm going to play the first half, though, because the Bengals have had some really good starts this year.
Yes.
I think the Bengals jump out to so I'm going to take the Bengals plus 105 in the first half. I think the Bengals will be up at half. I think that's the safer of the two plays. And I think it's very safe. You want to play player props, you play the over touchdowns for Joe Burrow. It's usually like 1.5 to 2.5. He's getting you like 2.5 to 3 a game average. I think he does it again. I mean, Jamar Chase, and they get T. Higgins back this week. So, I think it's going to be a good offensive week. I know that the Chargers defense, I think the stats are a little deceiving, Higgs, because they run the ball and play that ball control, and they haven't played great teams. So it's like, I think it's a little deceiving. I think the Bengals take advantage of a defense that really hasn't been proven.
Their wins, Tennessee, Cleveland, Arizona, they lost to. They beat the Saints. They beat Denver on the road. They lost to Kansas City 17-10. And we mentioned that Kansas City's not even playing well. I'm all for 2010 over Pitt. Again, that was Justin Fields. That wasn't Russell Wilson, who seemed, that we didn't talk about that. He seems totally rejuvenated coming back this in first part of the year. Holy cow. That's interesting with the Steelers. That could be the big game Christmas Day versus the Chiefs.
Well, if the Bengals win this week, they're only one game out of the wild card right now. So if they win this week, they've already played Baltimore twice, which I think is the best team. I know the Steelers are right up there with the Ravens in the North, but I think the Bengals will at least split with them, if not sweep them, because that'd just mean more to the Bengals. I think the Bengals still have a legitimate shot, but they got to win this one because you still have 2 against them. They always struggle against Cleveland. Even they won there, but it was only by a touchdown, even with what's got hurt.
Listen, that team's getting better. Listen, say what you want.
They're starting to play for each other again.
They won with a bunch of quarterbacks. They got their offensive lineman back. Chubb is back. They got off a bye. You got to like them this weekend. That's a dangerous. They play for that coach. They don't quit on that guy. They like him.
Well, I think the Browns, obviously Watson was kind of a divisive guy in the locker room. I'm not saying it was maybe his fault, but when you come in, you get paid all that money and you have all those distractions and then you don't win, people always blame the quarterback. Players blame the quarterback. And he wasn't playing great, let's be honest, too. So I think now that you take that out of the equation, now you kind of have guys kind of pulling back together. And I think that's what we see. We see that with everybody. The Saints fire their coach. It brings the team back together. They win the next week. That's what happens in the NFL. It's like sometimes these seasons are long. You need kind of a rallying cry to okay, let's pull back together again. Let's get back to the basics. And, effort matters in the NFL. Let's be honest. Like these guys all get paid, but, to win a game, you get paid the same amount. Let's be honest, if you win or lose. So if you're out there and you're like, hey, I really want to pull for my brother next to me, you're going to play better. It's just the name of the game. So that's why the best coaches, the Belichick's and that, they usually get the guys, keep them closer than I think the average coaches, which I won't get on my soapbox about the, Zach Taylor coaching in the
he's definitely not. I don't like him as a coach. He's
well, I always say the best coaches have your players ready the most. His last 4 starts, he's like, 3-9 or something to start the season, or 3-10. It's like that to me. The best coaches have you off of bye weeks, and you also at the start of the year. You got to be ready to go because once injuries happen, you're going to have some tough, during the season.
The slow starts are just that's indicative. That's not good.
Yeah, especially if you have elite talent, which If Joe Burrow's not the best quarterback, he's top 3. If Jamar Chase isn't the best receiver, he's top 3. And Hendrickson, you've seen what he's doing as a pass rusher. Like, he's top 5 pass rusher in the league. I mean, look at his sacks the last 3-4 years. So it's like when you have 3 elite players like that, you should be better. Like, yeah. So, all right. So those are your 3 free picks for week 11. We'll be back with Bettors Edge next week. Don't forget, usually we release on Thursday. This one's going to be on Friday, but make sure you stay tuned. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll see you back next week. Use that promo code EDGE to save 20% off.